Hey, sorry to interrupt. As I watch more and more anime, I've started to notice when a show does something a little bit different. That's why I've been so into cinematography these last few years. It really sticks out when a show emphasizes certain colors, introduces unexpected symbols, and uses strange transitions. And that's why I had to figure out why my love story with Yamada-kun at level 999 keeps doing this transition between scenes. Here is a bit of play-by-play. A scene of Akane sitting in a bathroom stall transitions to one of Yamada visiting the home of Runa. But before we cut away from Akane, Yamada's hand enters into the foreground first, floating over Akane's scene before the new background fades in. If you've seen my video on Freeren's editing, you'd recognize this structure. When a show visually cuts to a second shot but keeps the audio from the first shot going, it is called a L-cut, referencing how the video and audio tracks look in the editing timeline. This is a sort of visual equivalent where an element of the second shot appears while the visuals of the first one are still on screen. It doesn't quite look like an L in the timeline, but let's call it a visual L-cut. So what does this visual L-cut do? Initially, I wasn't really sure myself. I even thought this was just a quirk dedicated solely to ringing doorbells. But I started to reconsider after reading an excerpt from the 2023 Sakugaburu Animation Awards. Kevin, the main writer for the Sakugaburu blog, highlighted Yamada and director Morio Asaka for the layered style that kept the adaptation fun with minimal resources. Layering means separating out the visual elements of the composition into discrete planes. Think foreground versus midground versus backgrounds. This isn't uncommon in most anime. Backgrounds and characters, for instance, are often on separate layers. But it's how Yamada manipulates those layers that distinguishes it from your ordinary anime adaptation. In Yamada, you'll see characters fade away until only their line art remains, as memories play in the background to visualize a character reminiscing. You'll see characters at 50% opacity sliding across backgrounds when they vocalize their insecurities. You'll see a plethora of shapes and bokeh circles enveloping characters during those classic shoujo moments. Morio deploys a wide arsenal of layer tricks, including the visual L-cut, to liven dialogue and compact information. So coming back to the visual L-cut, I feel that the comparison to the original audio-visual namesake is apt. In the first clip, Akane is cornered by a stranger who follows her into the woman's restroom, leaving her both socially and physically trapped. While we could just use a simple cut to see what Yamada is up to, the visual L-cut adds some extra tension by lingering on Akane's silence. But we're not just fixating on Akane's predicament, we are interrupting this moment of anxiety for the viewer. As a result, the unease of what happens next carries forward into Yamada's scene, where we and Yamada learn that this encounter was masterminded by a jealous Runa, the girl Yamada is currently visiting. A cut can get you from one cast and location to the next, but the visual L-cut really threads directly back to Akane's distress, transferring her tension and context into the subsequent scene. However, it's not just the efficiency of the transition that I admire, but the intimacy it emphasizes. In episode 7, Yamada gazing at Akane's sleeping face is interrupted by a hand ringing the doorbell of Akane's apartment. In episode 10, Yamada's classmate retells the story of when she fell in love with Yamada, only for a bag to fall into the screen and transition to Yamada caring for Akane instead. And in episode 12, Yamada begins a negative spiral over his personality flaws until the act of capping a marker interrupts his rambling and shifts the focus to Akane's attempt to cheer him up. Each time, a foreground element wedges itself between us and the characters, building distance between the viewer and that first initial scene. Paradoxically, it's this separation, this attention to a layer that is clearly not a part of the composition, that somehow makes the moment feel more intimate. The extra degree of separation turns the spectacle into a more voyeuristic affair, And it's the awareness of intruding upon these private moments that actually furthers your investment into the story. Whether it's the softness Yamada holds, the vulnerability his friend exhibits, or the insecurities Yamada voices, the show draws the viewers in with this poignant emotions, only to throw something in front of those feelings to push you out. The visual L-cut has this interesting effect where pulling you out of your immersion with this foreground element actually raises your appreciation for the moment. We often bemoan anime that lazily adapt run-of-the-mill manga with little upgrades beyond the introduction of music and voice acting. But my love story with Yamada-kun at level 999 shows how the small things can really add up. And while the anime does borrow some iconography from the manga, many of these intricate details are anime original. Cinematography is all about assisting in how a narrative resonates with the viewer sight-wise. Whether it's the visual L-cut or some other layer manipulation using outlines and transparencies, Yamada finds a way to elevate the emotional story beats even in the cuts between scenes. Morio Asaka and Madhouse absolutely succeed in bringing to life this beloved manga while adding their own economical furnishings.